Alright, so this is kind of a re-review of the PS5 Pro as well as the Victrix BFG Pro controller. So very briefly on the PS5 Pro, the reason I had gotten it was for both fidelity and performance increases. And it does have PSSR, and I think I made a couple videos about how crisp it was. It's extremely sharp with PSSR. It's almost distractingly sharp, the amount of detail. And at the time, the two games that I was fixated on were the story modes for The Last of Us Part 1 Remake and for The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. And with PSSR, you know, those games can look just as good as full 4K with very little artifacting. I mean, there is some artifacting in some areas with like window blinds and stuff, but with PSSR, it just pops sharp as a tack. However, I stopped using, what do you call it, PS5 Pro Enhanced mode for resolution and textures, and I went back to performance. And the main reason was, if you go back to performance and unlock the frame rate, on The Last of Us Part 1, it gets you to around 90 to 100 FPS. And on Last of Us Part 2, it gets you to around 110, 115 to 120 FPS. Now, one reason is I think The Last of Us Part 1 Remake is more, it's like a newer game, so it takes more resources from your console than The Last of Us Part 2 Remake, which is a PS4 game. They completely remade Part 1, so I don't really play Part 1 that much anymore. I don't know anybody who does, and just take a hit. My jewel. But about a few weeks later, again, I switched back to performance, and the main reason was I started to play this no return mode on The Last of Us Part 2 Remake. It's called No Return, and it's like a roguelike permadeath mode where even though it's PvE, you play for points. And so I was able to play that, and I have been able to play that at around 110 to 120 FPS. Now, there are areas of slowdown and stuff that happens, but it's pretty much locked at 110 to 115. And it makes a huge difference. Like, I go back to games that I used to enjoy at 60 FPS, and I just cannot look at them. It almost feels like experiencing 60 FPS for the first time and then going back to 30 FPS. It's extremely choppy, and you really need to have good motion blur. So for like God of War Part 1, it has really good motion blur. That's not an issue, but for some other games, like 60 FPS just really doesn't cut it anymore. And as far as the game that I fixate most on, which is Last of Us Part 2 No Return, it's a game mode which is really, it's all about skill and reflexes mostly. And so having double the frame rates gives you double the amount of opportunities to execute whatever you need to execute. I can't imagine playing that at 60 FPS, much less 30 FPS. Even though the game, The Last of Us Part 2, was made for 30 FPS in mind. All right, so I think it's, looking back, definitely worth getting the PS5 Pro. Second part is this Victrix BFG controller that I had reviewed. And saw the box. Now, this, you don't have to keep this charged. That was kind of a mistake I made in my review. There is a charging port and a cord where you can connect this by Bluetooth or whatever the thing is. This has been very sturdy. Nothing has gone wrong with it. It's been very good. And this actually works for PS5, PS4, PS5 Pro, and the PC. There's a few comments I want to make. I left the controller stock. I played around with the D-pad, the stock D-pad. I put it back, but it's still not very good. But the point I'm trying to make is, with the game that I play mostly, which is Last of Us Part 2 No Return, you really need a controller like this, or you have to play this in a reconfigured style, like, because, you know, in that mode, in order to pick up stuff, you have to mash triangle, right? And triangle's right here. And you don't want to take your, hand off the right stick, and then that's just too slow. That just does not work. It just doesn't work on no return. You just won't get the resources and so on and so forth. So, the person I follow most, as far as the pro YouTuber who plays the same game, his name is Anthony Caliber, and he has remapped trigger to L1 R1, so it's a hair trigger, because this trigger is way too mushy for that game. It's a hair trigger, and he hits all the face buttons not with his thumbs, but sometimes with his thumbs, but mostly with his index finger, and he does it like that. And I just cannot control my controller like that. It's just very awkward hand-wise. But for the specific type of game that I play, which is Last of Us Part 2 No Return, you always want to be mashing this to pick up shit. And you do not want to take your hand off the right thumbstick. So that's the kind of trade-off you have to make. This BFG controller has like a small hack, because on the underside, which I didn't get to show you in the other vid, this is triangle, this is X, this is square, and this is O. And according to the box, you can actually remap these. So when I'm playing, I have my hand always, almost 100% of the time, on the right stick, and I'm constantly mashing this triangle for pickups, right? So I don't have to like right stick and then hit triangle, right stick, hit triangle, or do some kind of awkward whatever. And I don't have my shooting remapped. It's still R2, L2, R2, L2 ADS, R2 to shoot. And I have this on the hair trigger setting, which hasn't given me any issues. It has given me one issue once before. Let me think. Okay, so the issue that I was having before with it one time was when I was playing as Lev, and he has the longbow, and you ADS, but you have to actually draw the bow with the right trigger, and then in order to shoot it, you just release. And sometimes you have to do it very cleanly. You have to do it like that. You can't just like that. You have to do it like very cleanly, otherwise the bow won't come out. That's happened to me numerous times. Even yesterday, when I was doing some infected encounters, I was trying to get like point blank bow headshots. I just released it and it didn't come out. So you really have to kind of pay attention there. There's also like 3 different trigger settings. You can get it halfway, or like 20% of the way, halfway, all the way. All the way is way too mushy for shooting games. It's like, I mean, it's as much as the PS5 controller, but it doesn't have the spring tension, so it's just way too mushy for shooting games. So you want it on hair triggers. So, and the hair trigger detent is about 2 millimeters. Now, as far as these underside buttons, this triangle button really helps me. So does the X button, because, I jump sometimes. If I need to jump over or canter over a table or something, or if I want to do a sprint jump or whatever, I can use that. But I am not used to using my pinky for video games. I don't even use my pinky a lot when I play guitar. It's just, I don't use it a lot. So one of the downsides is, even though that's the only reason I'm able to complete no return runs, is because I can always mash pick up the stuff I need. But one of the downsides is in the heat of the moment, when your adrenaline's pumping and all that, sometimes you do mash this by mistake with your pinky, and you just have to be like really attentive and keep your pinky extended outward, or you can choose to actually use your pinky as part of the game. I just choose not to, because I feel my pinky's unreliable, so I only use triangle and X. But this controller has held up really well. It's not broken. I haven't had to replace any of the sticks or any of the buttons. It's really good quality, and the review I had up was probably from 10 months ago. So yeah, this controller is still really amazing, and it's, you know, all the videos I have of my no return runs, it's all on this controller. I never use the PS5 controller. I just can't do it for several reasons. The first off being you have to do this, otherwise you're completely gimped. You just won't get the resources you need. So, you know, half the point of the game is getting resources. The second thing is I do not like the left stick orientation. I think it was ever since the PS2 I was with Xbox, so I've been used to the Xbox layout for a long ass time. I had a PS4 for a little while, but I had a billing dispute with Sony, so they just canceled me, basically. But yeah, I do not like the left stick function. I do not like reaching my thumb all the way down here for movement. I like to have it up here and the D-pad down here, you know. So the Victrix controller, it's really great. I haven't had to do anything with it. I just took it out of the box, plugged it into my console, and I've been playing for almost a year ever since. Now, it does come, like I showed in the last video, it does come with a box full of stuff. There's a power cord. This is a fight stick layout that you can put on your face buttons to make it more like a fight stick for fighting games, which I don't use because I actually do use a fight stick. And there's two different style D-pads. There is a Xbox Series X style D-pad. There is one that is more like the PlayStation 5. And there's also a small tool. I think it's an Allen wrench type tool. And there's two different sized, different height thumbsticks. So I haven't seen fit to change any of that. This has served me really well. I'm not sure about other games. I'm getting into some other games now, like Oblivion, and I just downloaded Stalker and also Chernobylite and also WWE 2024 just to mess around with. But as far as the game that is kind of my jam, which is Grounded No Return, this has served me incredibly well. There was no way I would be able to play like that, mashing, because you really have to be constantly mashing this when you're playing that mode. Otherwise, you just don't have the resources you need to deal with the encounters. So I'm constantly mashing this, and whenever I need to jump or canter over something, I mash this, and it's just perfect because I can just have my thumbs on thumbsticks 90% of the time, not 100%, 90%, because sometimes when I melee, I'll just hit the face button that's right there. And that's pretty much it. They're both really worthwhile investments, I guess you would call them. I mean, this was $350, and the Series X or the PlayStation Pro was I think it was $800. But yeah, I just don't have a lot of time to play like different games, so I haven't taken full advantage of it. There's a bunch of games that are enhanced for the PS5 Pro. So if you're one of those people that can spend like 20 to 30 hours a week gaming, which I can't, then this, you know, the PS5 Pro is perfect and it's recommended, and this BFG Victrix controller is also highly recommended if you want to be able to hit the face buttons without having to take your hand off the stick. That's in my original video. That's one of the caveats I made, was like, you can't take you're stuck with these buttons. You don't have any means to remove them, but you can actually remap them to nothing. So when you hit something, it just doesn't work. But yeah, I mean, I've made that mistake numerous times where, you know, I'm late into a run, or when I'm at the boss, I just slip up and my pinky hits this thing, and it's, you know, it's like a 25 frame animation. You just get one-shotted and you're done. So there's always that risk, but I try not to use my pinky, and I'm going to be more, what do you call it, more mindful of not hitting my pinky on this. But this is definitely a great investment, especially for Last of Us, No Return, even the story modes, etc. Currently I'm playing through part 2 again, just to the chronological mode, just to get the skins for the characters. But yeah, so it's a revisit. Both of them are still very highly recommended, highly regarded. I actually take advantage of the back layout for the main game I play. So hope that helps.